That's why I wanted to have a chat with our next guest. Linda Burney is the Shadow Minister for Indigenous Australians, and she's on the line this afternoon. G'day, Linda.
Hi, Jim. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. A belated Happy New Year to you. You're a fan of this move by Cricket Australia.
I think it's a fantastic move, and I disagree with Jacinta's view of the world. And the reason is that I have actually taken the time, Jim, to look and study in detail the Cricket Australia's Reconciliation Action Plan. And the idea that they're focusing more on politics than on cricket is a nonsense. But when you have look at the 8 pillars of their action plan and think about some of the fantastic stories that go between Aboriginal people and Cricket Australia, I think they're taking on not a political view, but a very decent and appropriate view for such a high-profile thing within the country.
But isn't it dividing the country more than uniting it? I mean, it's about inclusiveness on Australia Day, about coming together, and yet they're still going to play 3 games of cricket. If they were that upset about playing cricket or having an Australia Day reference, why is the cricket going ahead at all?
Oh, look, I respectfully disagree with that. The overall plan for Cricket Australia in terms of reconciliation is enormous. They've got things like a national strategy. They've got a national advisory board, 9 Aboriginal players in the BBL. There's been an 800% increase in Aboriginal people playing cricket. And the great story, Jim, is that the first international cricket team that went from Australia to England was an Aboriginal 11 side. And one of the people out of that, his name was Muraman or Johnny Mulgar. He was the star of that tour, taking 245 wickets in 45 games from the English.
But Linda, I love all that, and I'm a big supporter of Indigenous athletes and Indigenous Australia. I've got a huge respect for our first settlers. But it's Australia Day. It's Australia Day, and why do we have to go down a path of scrapping Australia Day from a sporting contest that has been synonymous with our National Day?
Well, this doesn't scrap Australia Day. And
well, it scraps the reference. Yeah.
Well, it's for Cricket Australia, and they've obviously got their reasons for doing that. They've consulted with people. They've had advice from their Aboriginal Advisory Council, and they have a stretch reconciliation action plan, Jim, and that is the penultimate of reconciliation action plans. And as I said, there's an enormous amount of depth in that plan. Labor's position is very clear on this, and I think you'll agree with this, is that we are not advocating a change of date. Remember that it's only been the 26th of January since 1994. But what we are suggesting to people is take a moment that day with yourself just to reflect on what Australia Day means for First Nations people and what the true history of our nation is, good and bad, and it's really about, and I know that you're a great supporter of this, Jim, it's about building relationships.
Well, I am big on that, but I just think on Australia Day, I just can't get my head around the fact that a sporting contest, for as long as I can remember, I remember cricketing contests at the Adelaide Oval on Australia Day. Why on earth? I think this is doing more harm than good. Look,
I respect that view. I respectfully also disagree with that. I think it's showing enormous leadership, and it's sending a really important message to the rest of Australia that one of our most popular sports, which of course is cricket. I even listened to some cricket this summer. I'm disappointed that India won the test, but that's another story. That there is an enormous depth of history and some really really positive reconciliation action plan.
Well, I love the changing of the one line of the national anthem from young and free to one and free. I love the fact we sang an Australian or an English version of the national anthem at a rugby match last year and an Indigenous version. I don't like Australia Day being taken away from cricket matches on Australia Day. I think it just sends the wrong message. Linda, we'll agree to disagree, but I always love chatting with you.
Okay, thanks, Jim.
Good on you. That's Linda Burney, the Shadow Minister for Indigenous Australians.